Welcome back to the Deep Dive, where we take your stack of sources and transform complex technical material into surprising, actionable knowledge. Today, we are deep diving into the blueprint of automotive responsibility, decoding your vehicle maintenance schedule. For most of us, I think that schedule is it's a confusing mess of numbers.
It really is.
You know, is it 3,000 miles, 5,000, or wait, is it 6 months? And then you have the dealer telling you one thing, the manual another.
Right.
Our mission today is pretty clear.
Right.
We're going to cut through all that noise. We're going to identify the crucial, non-negotiable tasks that keep you safe and, frankly, are foundational to protecting your wallet.
And that's such a key point. This isn't just about scheduling an appointment. You know, it's not a chore. It's about following an engineering plan.
An engineering plan, I like that.
Yeah. The maintenance schedule is basically the manufacturer's guarantee. It's the instruction manual for this, multi-thousand-dollar investment to make sure it lasts and stays reliable.
So ignoring it is.
Yeah.
It's basically guaranteeing something's going to wear out prematurely.
Oh, absolutely. And it will inevitably lead to a pretty dramatic financial shock later on.
Okay, so that distinction, chore versus necessity, is key. If you stick to the schedule, you unlock, I think, 3 core payoffs. The first one is undeniable, right? Reliability and safety.
Especially when you're talking steering, brakes, the stuff that really matters.
Exactly. The second is longevity. You can dramatically extend the life of the most expensive parts, the engine, the transmission, the whole suspension system.
And the third one, which you mentioned, is the real sleeper hit. It's efficiency.
Right.
A poorly maintained engine, say with a clogged air filter or old oil, it just has to work harder to do the same job. You actually pay for that inefficiency every single time you fill up the gas tank.
So better maintenance immediately translates to better fuel economy.
Immediately.
Okay, let's unpack this foundational stuff.
The vehicle maintenance schedule
It's the official plan from the manufacturer, right? It details specific tasks and when they need to be done. But why is following it so critical beyond just, avoiding a breakdown on the side of the road?
Well, it really boils down to contractual obligations and documentation. What's fascinating here is that the schedule isn't just a suggestion.
Oh, this is important.
It is often a hard requirement to maintain your warranty coverage. So if you have a major engine failure inside that warranty period and you can't produce receipts proving you followed the schedule,
They can deny the claim.
they will likely deny the claim. You're basically voiding a very expensive insurance policy through neglect.
Wow. That warranty compliance alone should be enough to motivate people. But let's talk about resale value. If you're going to sell or trade in your car, the first thing a serious buyer looks for is that service history.
That history is currency, isn't it? A full binder of receipts showing you did everything on time can add significant value to your vehicle's final price.
And it's not just about money. In some places, it's a legal thing.
For sure. In many jurisdictions, maintenance is tied to legal compliance, especially around safety inspections and emissions testing. So it's just peace of mind. You're driving something that's safe, legal, and a protected asset.
Okay, so what are the key components we need to track? Our sources laid out the big ones. We're talking about, the obvious stuff, oil changes, filter replacements.
Right, the basic.
But also the fluid checks, coolant, brake fluid, transmission fluid. Then there's the tire maintenance, which I think a lot of people forget.
Rotation, pressure, tread depth, all critical.
And the brake inspections pads, rotors, and that critical fluid. And finally, those silent heroes, the belts and hoses, just looking at them for cracks or fraying.
That covers the what. A great list. But now we get to the really complex part, the when.
Yes.
And this is totally model dependent, but the golden rule, the one thing you absolutely must remember, is to follow the schedule based on mileage or R time, whichever comes first.
That's it. That's where all the confusion starts.
Yeah.
Because people focus on one or the other. Let's give some general ranges just to give people a feel for the cadence. For oil changes, keeping that engine lubricated, you're usually looking at every 3,000 to 7,500 miles.
But that time factor is huge. It could be 3 to 6 months, even if you've only driven, say, 1,000 miles in that time.
1,000 miles, right. And tire rotations for even wear.
Typically every 5,000 to 7,500 miles. And brake inspections, ensuring you can actually stop, that's usually in the 10,000 to 15,000 mile range.
Okay, what about those filters?
Yeah.
Engine air, cabin air, fuel filter. The things that keep everything running clean.
Those are usually wider intervals, generally somewhere between 15,000 and 30,000 miles. It really depends on your driving environment. And then you get to complex stuff like transmission fluid, which varies wildly. Could be 30,000, could be 60,000 miles.
And the point is, your manual has the exact numbers. These are just guidelines.
Precisely.
So let's circle back to that low mileage dilemma, because I think this trips a lot of people up. I buy a new car, I work from home, it sits in the garage 5 days a week. I might only put 2,000 miles on it in a year.
Right.
Why should I change the oil? Isn't that time factor just a revenue driver for the service industry?
That's a great question, and it gets to the fundamental chemistry of these fluids. And the answer is no, it is absolutely not just a revenue driver.
Okay.
Take brake fluid. It is highly hygroscopic, which is a fancy way of saying it naturally absorbs moisture from the atmosphere.
Even through the hoses.
Even through the rubber and the brake hoses. And water in that system lowers the boiling point of the fluid. That can lead to something called vapor lock and a catastrophic loss of your brakes, especially under heavy use.
Wow. So even just sitting there, it's fundamentally degrading a critical safety system.
Precisely. And oil degrades, too. Engine oil has these special additive packages in it, detergents, anti-foaming agents, and those packages break down over time from heat cycles and condensation.
Even when it's just sitting idle.
Even when idle. That oil is slowly losing its ability to protect the engine. And beyond that, rubber parts, like your tires or engine seals, they can get flat spots or dry rot just from age. You're essentially, you're fighting chemistry when you try to defer time-based maintenance.
That's a really powerful way to put it. Speaking of motivation, let's talk consequences. What's the high cost of ignoring just one small maintenance item?
The cost is always exponentially higher. Always. Neglect creates a negative chain reaction. So let's say we skip a basic brake pad replacement.
Okay.
The pads wear down to the metal, and suddenly you're scoring your rotors. Now, a $250 pad job just became a $600 job for pads and rotors.
And the safety risk goes up with every mile.
Absolutely. Or think about a Serpentine belt, maybe a $100 replacement. You ignore it until it snaps. In most modern cars, that one belt runs the water pump.
So when the belt snaps,
the water pump stops, the engine overheats instantly, and if you don't shut it down immediately, you warp the cylinder head. Suddenly, you're looking at a $3,000 repair, or worse, a complete engine replacement for $6,000, $7,000, even $10,000.
all because of a skipped $100 part.
Exactly. And the manufacturer will point directly to the lack of maintenance records and decline that warranty claim, leaving you with that massive bill.
It's a double penalty. A safety hazard first, then financial ruin.
And don't forget the slow burn of decreased performance. A clogged engine air filter restricts airflow, makes the engine run rich, and you're actively paying more at the pump for the privilege of driving a less powerful car.
Okay, we've made the case. So now the listener is motivated. They want to get organized. Where do they find the definitive source for their car's exact schedule?
The gold standard, the non-negotiable source, is the physical owner's manual.
A book in the glove box.
The book in the glove box. That document has the official schedule, and it's what the warranty department uses. If you don't have the book, the manufacturer's official website is the next best source, or sometimes it's right in the car's infotainment system.
This brings us to the big conflict for consumers.
Yeah.
The owner's manual versus the dealer's recommendations.
Ah, yes.
The manual says 7,500 miles for an oil change, but the service advisor is pushing for 3,000 miles, plus a bunch of flushes and additives. Are they just upselling?
This takes some critical thinking from the consumer. The owner's manual gives you the standard schedule for normal driving conditions. That is your warranty baseline.
Okay, the bare minimum to stay covered.
Exactly. But the dealer might recommend more frequent service for reasons based on, local reality.
Local reality, what do you mean?
So if you live in a really dusty region, the dealer knows from experience that engine air filters clog up faster than the manual predicts. Or if you live in a city with constant stop-and-go traffic, that puts enormous stress on the transmission and brakes that isn't normal.
So they're hedging based on common local failures they see every day.
That's right. So the best approach is often a hybrid one. Use the manual schedule as your floor to protect the warranty, but maybe consider the dealer's advice as a ceiling for extra caution.
That makes sense. And no matter who does the work, dealer, independent shop, or you have to keep those records.
You must keep detailed records and receipts. Documentation is your only proof in a warranty dispute.
Let's dig a little deeper into what you called not normal. What are the severe driving conditions that should make someone lean toward a more rigorous schedule?
Severe conditions accelerate wear on everything. The manufacturer defines this stuff clearly, and it often means cutting the maintenance intervals in half.
Wow, in half.
Yeah. A key one is frequent short trips where the engine never gets up to full operating temperature. This is huge because it can't burn off condensation, which leads to sludge buildup in the oil.
Okay. What about environmental stuff?
Extreme temperatures, hot or cold, regular towing or carrying heavy loads, and of course, driving on rough or unpaved roads. If you're a delivery driver making 50 short trips a day, or you commute in bumper-to-bumper traffic.
You are likely operating under this severe schedule, even if you don't realize it.
That's exactly right.
All right, this is where it gets really interesting and modern. EVs and hybrids. How does this whole conversation change when there's no internal combustion engine, or it's only used part-time?
The shift is significant, but it definitely doesn't mean maintenance-free. With a standard hybrid, you still have the gas engine, so you still need oil changes, spark plugs, all that.
Right.
But they also add complexity. You have specialized checks for the high-voltage battery system and sometimes dual cooling systems, one for the engine, one for the battery.
So a hybrid driver actually has more to track, not less?
In terms of systems, yes. But they get a huge break on one component, the brakes.
Regenerative braking.
Exactly. Both hybrids and EVs use the motor to slow the car down and recapture energy. This means the actual mechanical brakes get used way less, so the pads and rotors can last an incredibly long time.
So for a pure EV, what maintenance is even left? No engine oil, no transmission fluid, no fuel filters.
You're shedding almost all that mechanical engine maintenance, which is a massive cost saving. But EVs still require maintenance for their battery cooling system that needs specific coolant flushes. And ironically, they still absolutely need you to replace the cabin air filter.
Can't get away from that one. And what about the biggest mechanical stressor on an EV?
That would be the tires.
Really?
Yeah, because EVs deliver all their torque instantly the moment you touch the pedal. This can cause very different and often faster tire wear compared to a gas car. It makes regular tire rotations and checking the alignment even more crucial for an EV owner.
That's fascinating. Okay, let's finish by empowering the listener. Not every task here requires a $150 labor charge. What can we do ourselves?
You can absolutely cut down on labor costs with simple, high-frequency stuff. The easiest entry point is replacing your engine air filter and your cabin air filter. These often require zero tools.
Just opening a box and swapping it out.
Pretty much. Same goes for checking and adjusting your own tire pressure. It's simple, it's quick, and it directly impacts your safety and your fuel economy.
And if we're a little more comfortable under the hood?
Then you can tackle oil and filter changes, but just make sure you have a proper plan to dispose of the used oil. You can also clean your battery terminals and top off all your fluids, oil, coolant, washer fluid. The key is just knowing your limit.
Right. Brakes, complex electrical stuff. Leave that to the pros.
Please.
And beyond DIY, what are some tips to save money on maintenance without, sacrificing quality?
First, shop around. Don't just assume the dealer is your only option. Get quotes for standard services like tire rotations. Look for coupons. Second, always use quality aftermarket parts that meet OEM standards. Don't go for the absolute cheapest option.
Because it'll just wear out faster and cost you more in the long run.
Exactly. But the most important savings tip: address the small issues right away. That little check engine light, that minor squeak from the brakes, don't delay. If you fix the $50 sensor today, you prevent the $500 chain reaction next month.
Preventative maintenance is always cheaper than corrective maintenance.
By definition.
So today we've covered the absolute necessity of following your schedule for your warranty and your safety, that critical rule of mileage versus time, whichever comes first, and how to adjust that plan for severe conditions or for the unique needs of an EV or a hybrid.
The core insight really hasn't changed. The maintenance schedule isn't there to punish you. It's the instruction manual for maximizing your investment and minimizing those catastrophic costs down the road.
We spent a lot of time talking about mechanics, the engine, transmission, brakes, but the true lifespan and structural integrity of your vehicle, especially in places with road salt or harsh weather, it isn't just about perfect engine care. It's about preventing structural decay. If you want the longest, most valuable life for your car, you have to protect the frame itself. So here's the final provocative thought for you to chew on. When was the last time you actually checked your vehicle's undercarriage for early signs of rust and corrosion and applied proper prevention? That one neglected check could undermine all the perfect engine care you've been so diligently doing.
Please like, subscribe, and get notified.